um, we have a brother Thomas that is presenting tonight, and Brother Thomas is presenting tonight, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce him, and so he can start. So the book is Moonwalking with Einstein, by Foer Joshua. Um, Brother Thomas, you can go ahead and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Takisa, for the honor. I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know if you can see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Hello?
We can see, yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Let me try to see how this, I want the full screen to go. I don't have my keyboard. F11, I gotta be this one. No, this take me to the end. Okay, so let's do this full screen. Okay, again, thank you, Takisa, for the honor um, presenting this book, Moonwalking with Einstein. I don't really know why he put the name Einstein in the title, but it just the name. And it's a book by Josh Foer, right? His name is Joshua Foer, but through the experience in the book, they ended up calling him Judge Foer. And this book was originally published in March in 2011. About the first, let's talk quickly about Judge Foer. He's a freelance American journalist, and by taking this journey to learn how to enhance memory or how to learn some memory technique within a year, he became the 2006 US memory champion. And that's what he described in the book through all of the experience, some historical fact and stuff. So let's go for it. Moonwalking with Einstein. So Moonwalking with Einstein, the art and science of remembering everything, is a non-fiction book. It explores the world of memory competition and technique that enhance memory. The narrative begins with for initially a novice in the game of memory stumbled with people who played like Bozan and some other people who have event in memory stuff. So he was intrigued and inspired. So finally, he decided to learn to train about how one can improve his own memory. So the book talk about like memory, science, history, and Josh throughout the book share his own personal history for the year he learned how to remember to improve how to remember. So if you look where the way he present the event is memory technique are very very old-fashioned technique that people use back in the day, back in old century to remember until the day someone named Gutenberg came and created a book. So, and after that, people don't need to remember too much anymore because now you don't need to remember because it can be in the book. But before that, people used to like they use ink and stuff to write down. But still, the art of memory was the big deal, and some people can all day long keep learning and talking and just rehearsal and talking, and then that's the way they build the memory. So throughout the book, just introduce reader to various memory technique showcasing. He explained how memory is not merely a function of innate talent, but a skill because many of the people who do memory champion, many of them gives the same answer. You can learn it. If I can do it, you can learn it. And they get them through a scanner. They scan the memory and scan memory of some other people, and they found out they don't have anything different in their brain. Their brain is just regular like any other people brain. But the fact that they learn how to remember, that's why they can do it. So he also talked in the book on how to teach us how memory work, right? How memory are kind of fragmented, how you can relate a memory to event, to places. And so that's a way you can enhance your memorization. Um, he argued that we have become adept of finding information. So I'm transitioning from the old way to the new way. Today, everything is online. And I bet if I take any of the people in this chat, we are not going to be able to remember four phone number. Probably you might remember yours and your spouse, but not for the kid, right? We try to put everything online, relying more nowadays on cell phone and on computer, and we're not using our memory anymore. So the book talking to us, calling us about great. Back in the day, people were able to remember, but today we have machine, but to not forget ourselves, right? We need to remember to use our brain because the brain is like a muscle, and every muscle, when not used, contract and they will lose their value. So we need to exercise our brain. And back in the day, also people who used to do memory stuff, they spend hours, 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 and people they found back that like if you train and you try to remember something, you train for it like 10,000 hours, chances are you become expert on it. And that's where also apprenticeship came from. And if you look at a job, lawyer or medical doctor, nurse, carpentry, anything, you see people they spend hour and hour to learn, and that's they build memory about it. And if you talk about X, they know Y and Z. I would like to add some Western Africa reference to that book, right? I don't know if you guys remember. We have a Islamic teaching. They call it a Quran. And you see the kid, and all day long they keep saying the same thing. They keep saying the same thing, and those are kind of old stuff to build memory. Or if you go to Mali, Republic of Mali, you see there are some people they call griot, and their job is to remember history facts like kingdom. This king did this one, the other queen did, and that's their job. That's all they do to remember stuff because they don't have a written story in those areas. And the same thing applies to Vodun Coven. If you go to south of Benin, Togo, Nigeria, there is no book. They use the memory to know all of the fact, all of the song, all of the dance, the lyric, what to do and what to not do. And the same thing is true when you go to Dao Kingdom Palace today, Abume. You have some people there, and the only job they do the whole life is just to talk about the history, the glory, what happened, and what happened this war, what happened to this event, how this person get married, how many kids they have, the name, what they became, and stuff like that. So through the book, he gave us so many historic reference. I just pick a few of them. If you guys, someone read it, like the chick setting, the one that the people from Japan they perform very well, and they know how to, separate male from female, and that has a very big impact on agriculture because back in the day, people know that the chicken only the female is useful for the farmer. They don't need that much male, right? But you don't know the difference till they grow and they reach some, I think 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. But with the technique, they figure out how to separate them. And nowadays, sometimes they just kill all of the male, most of the male, right? Because they want only the female to survive. And they gave also the example of the name. I forgot the name of the technique, but somewhere in the book he talked about when he want to remember, they want to remember the name of someone. They give the example. The last name is Baker, but the occupation on the other one is Baker, and people easily remember the occupation than the name. So if we want to remember something, to try to attach it to something else. And also the example of the cab driver in London, how they have to drive around on motorcycle and learn all of the street, all of the road of London before they can pass the test. So I previously talked about the Gutenberg or the book thing that came along and people don't need to remember anymore. And today is worse, right? Because we have like computer, you have the storage, and then you can store 400 if you want 1,000 books in only, one little machine. And we don't need to remember that much anymore, or we're not doing the work to remember that much anymore. I have a few takeaway before I conclude. The first one is most skill are acquired through repetition, and I talked briefly about it before. 10,000 hour training time will make you expert on a subject. So I don't know, you want to learn cybersecurity, web design, whatever. If you spend 10,000 hour in training, you'll be very good at it. And so many authors talk about that one. In the book, also, he briefly mentioned intuition as a skill, but very difficult to explain the intuition. So the brain is an elastic muscle and will adapt to gain new information. All memory are recorded and can easily be restored. Alzheimer and older disease affected more the new information, not the old one. The book, he calling us to not straightforward, but he's asking us to not retire any vital function of our body. The book focuses on the brain, but the same thing is true for any other muscle. Like if you take the kid who live in on Gambier Island in Benin, because they don't have a land, they don't know how to run. They can barely walk. All their life they are in like in boat, right? So because they don't know how to walk, they don't have that function developed. But nowadays they are building like soccer playground and stuff for the kids just to go out to walk. So to become a champion, start with believing and deciding. I think that's one of the key elements from this book because this journalist, Judge Foer, he didn't believe at the beginning, but after 1 year, he became a champion, a US champion. The brain remember more clearly event, date, location, context. There are many techniques to improve memory, and those techniques emphasize on what to remember and how to remember. Because if you put too much junk also in your brain, you're not going to be good at remembering things. What you memorize shape your character. It is very important and useful to forget. This is an ode for everything I say before, right? But the essence of life is to sort, to think, and pick the one that we want to remember. If one has to remember everything, the way you learn how to walk, the way you probably, I think the brain will be full, right? And if you take a computer that is full, it doesn't work anymore, right? It will say no, it missing more, it missing memory. If you take a cell phone, it has too much picture on it, it reach the full capacity, it doesn't work anymore. So life is about forgetting, not to remember too much. Remembering too much is not synonym of a promising career. And I think in the book also he gave that example of a girl who was able to remember so many things, but they didn't have like a good career. Humans have RAM and ROM memory for those who know computer. Let's not technology to replace the power of our brain. Eating well is essential for a healthy brain. And I will stop there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much.
Thank you, Fred Thomas. Thank you for the
No
presentation.
problem.
You presented under 15 minutes, like 2 minutes and 37 seconds earlier. So at this point, everyone has 3 minutes and to chip in a question. Um, if you have anything to say, this is the time. And then if we have more time, then we can go back to some more comments and stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, I can jump in.
Okay.
Oh, damn. Go ahead.
No, Beyond was saying okay for you to go, baby. You're good.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much, Fred Thomas, for the like always wonderful, wonderful presentation. Um, the book itself, I didn't read the book. I'm going through some really difficult situation right now with work, and I have a very tight schedule right now. So I'm trying to readjust, when it comes to the reading. But it was a very just based on the summary, Fred Thomas summary. I have the big picture and the big idea of the book. It seems to be a really really good book. Um, I would just go with a couple of questions that I have. Based on what is coming from the book, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. What do you guys think about the crisis that we have today with this AI? And I think I've talked about this once during our one of our meeting. Like the fact that we're using AI too much, is it gonna be a problem today or tomorrow for our brain? Will we be able to even remember one plus one? Because AI is doing almost everything today, and it is a big crisis right now. Because I'm watching Euro news and other European news and stuff. It's a big crisis. That question is a big question right now, all over the world. That's the first question. Um, another well, it's not a question, but is just a reminder. We've read a book, the title, "Building a Second Brain." Right? You have read a book, a second brain. So, is it like Fred Thomas said, is impossible to remember, to stop everything and remember everything just using our brain that is really really limited. The fact that we have to build a second brain is an opportunity or an option that can actually help us to remember and go and grab information when we need that information. Or is it by doing so, or by building up a second brain, maybe another a
Anymore.
file or whatever
It looks like
we,
we
we
have
want to name it,
the issue
to
here.
save information, and whenever
Hey,
needed
Beyond have
go
the
back
sound.
there. Is it
No, Beyond have the sound.
Yeah,
okay? So is it something that you guys think is really, really needed, or it can also be a problem, because by doing so, it's basically like okay, whatever you have, you just save it, and you don't really have to use your brain. You can save it somewhere, and when you need it, you can go and grab it. You can even use AI tools to do so. So or that is the second preoccupation that I have. And then the last thing that I'm gonna um second how to okay, another thing that I wanted to talk about is I think all of us, we have experienced it, right? Like, it's very easy to remember a movie that you watched, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, like very clearly, like step by step, all maybe 2 hours meeting, 2 hours movie. You can describe that movie exactly the same, all the scenes and things that happen during the movie. You can describe it. So I think, based on all the recommendation and things that is trying to teach us, that we can implement to help our brain, or our brain to remember stuff. I think it's something that we can also look at, like things that help us to maybe imaging, I don't know, things that help us to capture information and be able to remember those information quickly. Thank you. That's that. I will stop here, and thank you one more time, Fred, Thomas, and thank you. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve went over. He went over 2 minutes something, but that's my time included, so we're good. I'll let Fred Toma or whomever wants to answer the question go ahead. But thank you, Steve, for the questions.
Yeah. Sure.
I apologize. We didn't hear the second question. It looked like we have like a volume issue on my computer. I took note of the first one clearly, but the second one I didn't. So I might answer the first one, and anyone can take the second one on. About what we think about the AI crisis, the problem is gonna be today and tomorrow. Remember here before we talk about the only constant in life is changes. So change gonna come, right? Back in the day, people used to travel 3 months from New York to California, right? And today it depends on the airplane you book, and hopefully in 100 years it might take 1 hour to get over there, right? You're not going to decide to say, I still want to walk from New York to California. The same thing apply to so many things in life, like going to work, and people used to walk, and now we have a car, and we're not going to go back to the bicycle. The challenge for me, saying that, is the developing world is behind. That's where my concern is, right? If I go to like Wese, is like a central part of Benin, and I go p.m. to 12 to midnight, those places, they don't have internet. They don't even know about AI, right? So this AI thing is mostly right now for the developing world. It's not over there anymore. People are still thinking about what to eat, what they're gonna do, and stuff like that. Now, for the people who live here in the developing world, I mean US, China, France, and stuff, the only easy path moving forward is go and learn. Go and learn. I listened to one of a famous French author yesterday. He used to live in Germany. He lived in Germany for 18 years, and he know how to translate. And he wrote a new book, and that book is so famous. And people from Germany asked for a German version. Back then, you have to give it to a house, edition house, and they will select someone to translate and do all of that. It takes you months. He said they put it in Chat GPT. It takes 6 minutes to have the book translated in German, and they change only when they read it through. They change only 2 words just to say, "Let's go for it." Let's not be worrying about AI, and embrace it, learn it, and move with it. If we say no, then we're gonna be like left behind. That's my answer.
Yeah. Okay, can I
Thank
go?
you.
Mhm.
So I want to thank Thomas for the presentation, and to add to Steve answer, AI will do what AI will do, right? But what's our day-to-day activities, those are learned, right? And we cannot rely on AI before we do our stuff, right? Let's take an example of your job. So you learning, you spend time, 10,000 hours, to get that degree, and you are working, right? You are not going to wait for AI to remember or to help you remember what you learned before you practice it. So, and as time going, new things are coming. You have to learn those. So you have to memorize it. So when you come to your job, it doesn't take you time before you start doing it. So AI will be there. We will use it. However, we are still going to use our brain to make our activities goes faster. So AI is not going to stop us from memorizing or using our brain. That's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you,
But,
Fred.
but, but, but
Christopher,
okay,
yes.
thank you. But Fred Thomas stuck along. But if it wasn't a concern, I don't think, because this is not a question coming from me. The question that I'm asking right now is a crisis. If you watch news right now in Europe, all the European countries are questioning this AI thing. That is a huge question right now, even in Europe. Like, our children, what would be the future for them? Even calculation, even basic mathematical calculation, seems like everyone is just like, hey, 1 plus 1 AI, pour 1 second, the answer is already there. No one, children, they don't want to think anymore. Actually, no one want to think, because AI is there
So
to give answers.
Well, okay.
you want me to jump
Shirley is
in because I was keeping biting my tongue.
Okay.
No, Shiran, go ahead.
Okay. So first thing I want to preface this all is that every time someone talks about AI, remember that you do not own the AI, right? So if you become dependent on it, as soon as they raise the price and you can't afford it anymore, right? That's a whole set of issues, right? That's the first thing. The second thing I want to also add on is that no matter what the AI outputs, the AI will have to be checked. Even if it consistently outputs perfectly, the AI will have to be checked. And do you know why the AI will have to be checked? Because AIs cannot make legal decisions currently, right? So if you blind, like this happened to, I forgot what the company was, but it was an automaker,
yeah.
and someone managed to trick the AI into saying that the AI would that he would get a refund on his Ford F-150. It was Ford, yeah. It was an F-150. He wanted a refund from the dealership, and he tricked the AI into saying that. And then they had to go to court over this, and they came to the conclusion that the AI cannot propose legally binding contracts, right? So no matter what the AI puts out, someone will always have to check it, right? So what I always say is there are things you can control and there are things you can't control. You can control what skills you have in the new AI world. So whenever something goes bad and they need someone to fix whatever problem the AI caused, you are the person that they hire, not the people who never bothered to learn, right? So control what you can, right? The world is going to be happening around you no matter what you do, right? Right? You can influence the world, but you can only influence the world so much. But you can influence yourself a lot more. So focus on yourself. That's what I'll say.
Thank you,
thank
Shirley.
Thank
you.
you, too.
Thank you.
Okay, so Nasif, now.
Yeah, let me go for my turn. Thank you, Fred Thomas. Thank you, Elo. And I know that this book will bring a lot of discussion. I know that. And where did I get it? It was the fact that when I was going for my CPA exam, they gave us a lot of books. You have sometime one book might be 1,500 pages, and they're expecting you to remember. So I say, oh, let me dig into it, and is where I encountered this one. So definitely, it's something that we can talk about it. We might not be on the same page, but to quickly answer first, Steve, is the fact that don't fight it. Why? Because if you remember, I don't know if your parents compare your intelligence when you were growing up. When you were growing up, our parents say, "Oh, your school now is no longer the way they used to. Your school is so low now. It's no longer high the way they were doing it." Yes, but now what are we talking about our kids? The same thing.
Thing. Yeah.
So it will be like that. Don't fight it. It will be like that. If we take, you were saying that there is crisis. It's not crisis. Even there is one French author who said that artificial intelligence doesn't exist. And I said, where he is coming from? He is talking the fact that artificial intelligence cannot do several things at the same time. Artificial intelligence can do how to write, how to compute, how to draw. But when you put everything together, expecting one system to do everything together, that system might not do it. That's why he's concluding that it's not going to exist. And coming back to Steve again, don't fight it, try to join it. Because if you remember, they were calling a profession called waking person, and that waking person has to go around to wake people up, because at that time they didn't have alarm to set. So the person will go and knock at your window or your door, say, "Oh, please, Fred Thomas, you booked me for 5 a.m. I'm here 5 a.m. Please wake up, wake up, wake up." And then you wake up, and that was a job.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the job. And elevator operator. There
Mm-hmm.
was one person there, you say, "Oh, I'm going to fourth floor." He will type it for you because you don't know how to type the yeah. To be another one that is very, very surprising, there were people who could understand English, but they don't know how to read. So at lunch break, the company recruits someone who will come with a newspaper and read for them. Yeah, to read for them. So all these jobs now are going. Why? Because AI can read it back to you. So for me, it's not, I'm not even afraid, I'm not even thinking about that. It's the normal evolution of human being. If we think that we used to learn table 1, table 12, table, and when we say 10 times 12, we say 120. But nowadays people, the students are not, they don't know that anymore. Doesn't mean that no, they have a way to get to the same result. So I would say that I'm not afraid of that. I will try to join the movement and go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's come back
Even
to
at
the
school now, the kids don't know basic math. They just provide them calculator
yeah,
to
yeah,
move on it, and that's the
yeah,
principle of
yeah.
the math.
So let's quickly go back to the. You were saying that why he gave the title Moonwalking with Einstein is a technique for them that one action means something in their memory. You see, so when you want to, let's say that I know Kirikou was born on 4th of May. I just say something like that. So to remember 4th of May, I will just put Kirikou in action. You understand? So let's say that your wife was born on November so and so. You say if you want to remember that month, you just remember her, which is much easier. So the technique here, for all the technique that he presented, is what you know previously, you put the new thing that you want to remember and attach to
Yeah.
it, and that's it. That's the main technique. One point, and I'll finish my introduction, is the fact that we don't point it out. I'm Arun because I can remember my memory. As soon as I forgot all my memory, I'm no longer myself.
Mm-hmm. You are
And that's
blended.
very, yeah, that's very, very important as well. That's very, very important. It's through this book that we realize that memory is part of our identity. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to jump in real quick.
Mhm.
Um,
Got you.
I want to apologize for coming 4 minutes late. I want to tell Thomas, thank you for the presentation. It was very precise and clear.
It's okay.
Um, unfortunately, I was not able to read the book, so I will be speaking from your presentation. Um, like everybody saying, memory. For me, when I see like all the 12 years that I went to school for, half of the thing that I memorized, I cannot remember it.
Oh, more than
So,
half, maybe 95,
Yeah.
not,
95%.
yeah,
You remember only
95.
the one you use.
95 from third grade. Somebody posted grasshopper the last time and said in Africa they may or draw grasshopper, but yet in Africa they still like that. You know, we memorize, we study so hard, we put emphasis in the book, but then we forget about the vision. We forget about um, the things that would inspire us, that we can just go for it instead of us thinking of sitting and spending so much hours and memorizing things that we will still forget because the brain is not full yet. We keep adding and adding and adding as we go and subtracting as we go along. So I feel like technology, if Africa can just embrace it and embrace the change, and then work with inspiration rather than just wasting people time. I call that a waste of time because we studying the wrong thing, but life is leaving us behind, and we focus on those things. Like before AI, we have so much that Google. You can say, Google, I want to go eat, find me a restaurant. Google will find you a restaurant. You say, Siri, I want you to put alarm on for me. Siri will put alarm on for you. What is the date today? Siri will tell you the date. So around us, we have already been using AR. But this one, they just is just an advancement, an advanced AR that is precise to help us. Because they realize that we don't need all of those things. What when this will allow you to pick an interest, what you are interested in, to focus on it more, to learn it more, to master it more. And now you can be that skill will serve you in the future. And I think I support it. And I just want to say, you got the discussion and Fred Thomas, your PowerPoint is always great. And even if you don't read the book, everybody presentation is always great. Even if you don't have the opportunity to really read the book, you can have an idea and insight, and that will lead you to go back to read. I rest my case for somebody else to take over. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Fatima.
Fatou.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Fatima. What's
You want to
next?
go ahead, Bia?
All right, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, first I want to thank Thomas for the great presentation. It's important information at arm's length eventually reaches a point where the brain automatically disposes of memory it deems unneeded. And with that hindrance, you're not the one using the AI tool. The AI uses you. Bettering your memory retention is a conscious act that has to come from you. And also, the concept of memory competition wasn't an idea in my head until this point.
All right. Thank you, Bia.
Thank you, Beyond. You never heard about memory competition?
Thank you.
It's like a spelling bee. Something spelling bee is like a memory competition, right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
like the book that we have, like the Fable of La Fontaine and stuff like that, that you have to learn and then you act on it, right?
On when we were little,
Yeah, like the story with the
the
animal, and then
the
you have to
fable, yeah.
the
Well, they don't know that.
anymore.
Like Arun say, when we were at school, we had to memorize all this fable and recite it, right?
Hmm.
But they don't do that here. So,
Except if you want to go for like a movie career, you have to remember.
yeah.
The AI is not going to remember the movie for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
even the idea of the spelling bees, I don't hear it anymore. They use even the US here, maybe let's go back 5 years or a little bit more. There used to be this televisions episode that
Yes.
will be spelling things and stuff, and all of a sudden you don't see that anymore.
I depend on the TV that you. They do it on PBS all the time. It's a
They,
yearly
they, are,
thing.
they are still
For the
Yeah,
doing it.
kids. Okay, for the
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
For,
And they do the competition from the schools first,
yeah.
and they
Okay.
select until when the kid were little, they had to participate in that.
And the funny thing, I don't know if you guys notice, the funny thing, 90% of these who are winning those
Indian.
competitions, they are Indians or
Indian.
foreigners.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't
Mhm.
know. Most of
Because
our education is about
Yep,
memorizing.
yep,
Look at
yep,
mm,
how we have
yep,
to memorize lessons and go
yep,
sit down and do tests.
yep,
So we use our brain a lot. So
yeah.
mhm.
it
but
develops.
but what we are saying here, we're saying that even though the kids here today may not have that, they
Mm.
will still be good. Is
Yeah,
that what we're saying?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
yes,
They don't
They
need
will,
to remember
they,
they will survive.
epsilon, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things
They,
yeah,
anymore.
and
they,
it's
they,
enjoyable
no,
to
no, 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 no,
participate.
no, 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 no. They will still be good. Are they good?
They are.
They'll be better.
No, no,
They are
no.
good.
No, no. That's the question
They
to
will
answer.
be
Are they really good? Fred Aaron, you're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing because you
So,
know
Let,
yourself that if you have
so
to do
let,
mathematics right now with
let me
But
Let
let
the
me tell
kids see.
Fred Steve,
Let the
let me tell you something.
kids.
1 second, let me tell you something. In certified public accounting and fields,
yes.
they were debating, oh yeah, the exam is great, we don't want a lot of people, until they start realizing that there is not enough people in that field. Now is what they are doing, they start lowering,
the
the
standard.
standards.
they start lowering
Standard.
the requirement. So the
Okay.
requirement that you put it there say that, oh, they are not good at that one. If they feel and they are the one creating that requirement, they will lower it,
For them
and they will
to
Okay.
continue.
Here's
let the kids speak.
let me address that first, right? Okay. There,
Mhm.
it's a simple problem of desire, right? Um, Computer science is a very, very difficult field, yet I would argue it is the most filled field in every single university in the United States.
Yeah.
Why? Because roughly 5 years ago, right, if you wanted to make money really quickly out of school, you got a computer science degree, you got a job in like California, they paid you $150,000 as soon as you graduated, right? It was like that, right? Money is the driver, right? If you want the kids to be good at something, you need to put money in front of their face, and then they will go into the education field and learn that, right? So whenever they're like, oh, there's a shortage of X thing, right? People are going to whatever pays the most. So if X thing doesn't pay the most, they're not going to go to that, right? But then this idea of like not memorizing anymore. Something I really want to point out is a difference in education systems. So the US education is very, very emphatic on like group discussion and teamwork, right? Because I know a lot of like foreign systems, the teacher teaches and they just tell you and then that's it, right? Like there is a very heavy emphasis on the teacher asks you questions. There are round robin Socratic circles, right? Or you talk in a circle. What we're doing right here, where everyone is discussing as equals, right? That is like the emphasis and the go for it, right? There's an emphasis on like this team focused mindset versus memorizing everything. I do agree that the U.S. public education system K through 12 has a lot of issues, right? But once you get to like the collegiate level, it's still the same. But I would argue the U.S. education system at the university level is the best in the world, right? It's just this emphasis on like group discussions, and since we're focusing on group discussions, there isn't so much of this focus on memorization, right? Because again, like the testing, right? It's just, do you meet the bar and can you function in a group environment versus can you memorize every little thing, right? Because again, all the competition shows itself at the collegiate level where it's like, okay, can you get into this program? Can you get into XYZ program? Because that's where everyone's pushing themselves to make money, right? So that's what I'll say. And then going back to actually what I wanted to say beyond defending the kids. So first, this idea about how most skills are acquired through repetition, and 100,000 hours makes you an expert, right? What I will say, you don't need to be an expert to be useful, right? You will learn very quickly when you are forced to apply yourself in a situation. Like, so me and my friends play tabletop games, and I was using a software called the Tabletop Simulator to basically create maps. And I remember when I first learned the software, I would look up a bunch of YouTube videos, and I was lost, and I forgot everything, and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't make any sense, and this doesn't work right." But I just decided I'm just gonna take what someone else created and modify it for my own personal use. And I kept applying myself, and I have like roughly 200 hours in the software now. And then recently there were some changes, and another one of my friends has to use the software now, and I was teaching him how to use it. And I realized how I went back to the same videos, and I was showing him the videos. And I realized as I was going through the videos, I could predict what the person was doing before they even did it because I had used the software that much at this point, right? So you don't need to be an expert to be useful, right? That's the first thing. Another thing, this idea about don't retire the vital functions of your body. Yeah, use it or lose it, right? Anything you don't use will degrade because you're going to be spending more effort and more time on the things you do use, right? And then the last thing I will say is just like in the new AI world, you just have to be proactive about your information. You have to find news sources that you trust, like the established news sources. Those are pretty good at just like fact checking their information, compare different sources of information, find out what they give out, whatever information they want to give. And I want to thank Fred Thomas for the presentation, and I hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, should I say Fred Thomas, Beyonce Thomas? I'm getting
It's
closer.
all good. I saw the reaction. I saw how Tata
It's
Colombo look
it's
at
time, guys.
Frank Olivia when
And
she said
yeah,
Thomas.
when
I want to take it's new, but it is as long as it's not how a kid calls you, but it's the respect that is always given, knowing one's place. You
Yeah,
know.
but
Yeah.
even with your actually words, it will always sound different
Right.
for someone who came from Africa.
Absolutely.
yes,
It does shock me too, but you just know that okay, this is the new way. This is
So
it.
we had to we had to invite Steve to come up and advise us what to do now.
no, anyway,
The kid will start calling you Steve.
yeah. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah. Okay, can you guys hear me well?
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Oh, okay. So otherwise, I'll remove the headset. Yes, it's been very exciting. I sorry I was a little busy, but I was paying attention and listening to all the discussion right from the beginning. Thank you very much, Fred Thomas. This is the new the new normal now. Fred
You
Thomas,
know.
and for for your presentation. presentation. Okay, and it is so weird that if I may start from that aspect of the thing, my daughter and I, we grew in a different environment where she calls me Amore, and up to a point that whenever she anyone mentioned Papa, I feel awkward. Yeah, and then to Steve, when they met and he was calling me all sort of names, I said, okay, the most you could call me is cousin. Beyond that one, I won't take it. And then he was so uncomfortable at the beginning, but today it became normal. So it's just as Christelle was saying. Yes, it's the love behind that matters and the respect that anywhere respect is due, we have to give that right respect, regardless the connotation that we use. So that is that, but everything evolves. When it comes to these techniques, I remember Frere Arun showed me a lot about this when we were in school because at one point the weakest point that I was having to was memory issue. I did IT, I did software engineering at the beginning, and then but being really good at logic, I became the only software firm that I worked in was to debug. I could trace anybody's code and find where the error is and pull it out. But writing those codes, forget about it. It is so difficult for me. But as Shirel was saying, you may not necessarily do certain things the way it is done in general, but you could still have certain aspect of it and be very useful. Even up to when I told Steve last time that I keep running away from IT, IT keep following me, and there's almost nothing that I could do without just doing IT. And when I was in exploration and development, it was almost everything was almost down to computer using again, and then tracing the processing thing, and then trying to interpret, seismic information became so how do I say prominent in what I was doing, even though I didn't like to, and I found myself sitting again behind the computer. But in that case, I remember this guy. I still couldn't explain how I understand physics, and I cannot sometimes explain it to people. But when I'm looking at seismic code, I mean seismic data, I see the actual materials. I see water moving. I see where it could get to non-permeable layers. I see where it could get to, and then very few people to follow three things: fluid, temperature, and pressure, and see how material changes under the influence of those three things. People cannot. How I do, I cannot explain, but I can see them separately and I see how they influence one another. And when you tell me, okay, 1 mile below, quickly I have the feel of what the pressure could be there. I have the feel of how the material could be, whether it will still be malleable, solid, or but and then through the code, people try to come out with the maps and then the models and so on. I will not be able to, but I will look at it and I will be able to tell somebody, okay, at that level, there wouldn't be any permeability. At that level, the fluid could not move. At that level, there's nothing. Okay, we can still frack it because the material is solid enough. Oh, it's just 1 mile and so on. I said, no, 1 mile, but the temperature, the pressure, the kind of fluid. In short, the guy really explained how we could use vivid mind to actually know things and then be able to explain or put things that people could not. And I, the one thing that I could not do, if you give me three, four numbers, for example, I wouldn't be able to tell you, repeat them easily. But I can tell you how temperature changes all the way to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles underground, simply because I could put pictures of the layers. As soon as I read the geology with the mind of knowing how the materials get deposited, I can see everything and I'll tell you how this temperature is moving and this is increasing. Okay, the fluid changes and so on. And it is real. So when I read it again this time, even though I haven't finished it, I said, okay, I will use this again to try to learn to keep things how I could do very, very complex things that other people will turn and look at me and say, how? How could you know? How could you know? And that's so it is obvious. And I cannot explain. So what the guy is saying is true. I don't even have the words to explain how I could know the temperature change and pressure change all the way to 3, 4, 5 miles below the ground. But I can tell you, and the weird is, if you show me once the the result of the processing of the seismic, I will be able to remember the temperature at that level, the pressure at that level, and so on and so forth. And it is inexplicable. But all this only become possible when you can put images on them. And even though complex things like this could be done, I just believe if we put a little bit of effort into our desire to know things and learn things. Arun and I did a lot of things, or he showed me certain way to remember things before, and I did, and it works. But I just become complacent very quickly and then forget. But it does work for whoever or however we want. If we have the desire, we can make use of what the guy said. The same way he appeared not to be sure and not to be how do I say, a, 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 not to be satisfied with what he was taught at the beginning. In actual fact, it is true. And with a little bit of desire and then practice, we do increase our memory very well. So that is what I wanted to say about the book. And now coming to all the technology and other things, well, it has always been like that. If we don't use it, yeah, the same way automobiles was banned in 48 states in the United States, only two states accepted it. It was banned. The same way Steve is saying that okay, it's a crisis in Europe now. Yes, the use of automotive in America was a crisis at the beginning. Everybody saw that it was going to lead to the end of the world, and the West they want to use the combustion, and they saw explosion of well, explosion of tanker, explosion of carriage, and so on. Nobody believed automotive could be used and we will still survive. Yes, we all see people don't work anymore, and then it returns the Americans in general to almost the whole country is almost under crisis of obesity because nobody walks anymore. And everybody just to from your house half a mile to the store is car. You jump into the car, you go quick, you turn back, and so on. It will come. The AI, that is the way I could see it. It is going to resolve so many problems. It is going to help so much that we can't do without. At one point, we will all see that yes, this is more than normal that we all use it. But the problems will come with it. And a lot of people will lose their memory. It won't be obesity only, but it will be Alzheimer here, Parkinson there, and so on. Dementia was already normal with almost everybody. So that is the way I see it. it is going to bring so much good that it will outweigh by far the bad, and we can't do without it, because even if we said that, oh, we are fighting against obesity today, oh, growing fat, I have to control weight and so on. Yeah, but I will still take that weight over walking from here to, I don't know, if we say we want to go back home now, we are not even sure we'll ever reach if we have to go by our own natural means. So that is what it will be. The world keep changing and it will keep changing. And then Shira says something very, very, very important. Working individually requires a lot of memory, but teamwork requires so many other skills that are way beyond retaining things. And then this United States of America having that union mind, a lot go in team, team. And our style, I don't know much about Asia, but I believe it's close to, because they are forced to be together, but they still hide things from one another. I work with Indian, they'll hide